What's happening, everyone? And welcome to our very special edition of Al Chile, the preview special of Canelo versus Triple G, the trilogy, baby. And I'm here with George with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. You got to check him out. And the legend, the homie, Nopal Boxianos. What's happening, fellas?
Good morning to both of you guys. Doing good.
Man, I am feeling good too. Nopal, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Especially with that intro, that I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Hey, well, you've been running the YouTube streets for a long time, man. You know what? We're happy to have you here. And dude, we have one hell of a loaded episode. We're ready to talk about this fight. It feels like fight week. You know what I mean? And one of the things I want to start with is I want to talk about Mexicans for Triple G. Now, do these guys still exist? No, Paul. What's the word on the street? Have you seen any Mexicans for Triple G? What's going on?
Well, you know what? Where I've seen it at is on Twitter. There's a guy that started, I think he's like Mr. Boxing Guru or one of them guys. And he makes that merch, so I'm not sure, man. Maybe it's a secret, but I think he's selling them T-shirts.
Well, I know he's come around, so hell, man, it's not too late if you want to get some merch. It's still early in the week if you want to rep Triple G this weekend, the big fight weekend, the Super Bowl. If you want, you can do whatever you like, man. I want to give a shout out to Remy, who's in the house. Thanks for joining us. Run PMC, the hired gun of HCP, is here. Thank you so much. Nando, listening in. Salute to the panel and the chat, man. And A-Rod, the founder of El Chile Boxing Talk, is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like Triple G fans, the Mexicans for Triple G, like, they just don't exist anymore. Like, I don't know if they're just, like, fair weather fans. Like, they should be hyped for this one, and I thought I'd see some of them, like, come out of the woodwork. But I haven't really seen it around too much. But I want to give a salute to them. I know that they'll be watching. You know what I mean?
Chicano, was that you?
Nah. Well, if I had a vieja like that, I'd be showing her off for sure. I'll tell you that. You know what? Just so you know, this lady allowed me to show this picture. I asked her on Twitter. She said she was cool with it.
You.
Yeah. We think it's funny. And this was from the rematch. And I've asked her for an update. I want to know what's going on with couples like this. If there's problems at home, right? Because a lot of the viejas like Canelo. So we're just gonna find out. Like, is he still a Triple G fan? Does he hate Canelo? Has he learned to respect Canelo? We're going to find all that out. But you know what? We respect Canelo and Triple G, both of them. Like, they're both excellent fighters, and we want to give Triple G the respect that he deserves. And I feel like people are sleeping on this mega fight, the fight of the year, and we're going to talk about it. I just want to go over some odds real quick. Gennady Golovkin is the unified #1 ranked middleweight champion going up to fight the champion at super middleweight, of course, 168-pound champion, lineal champion, undisputed champion, Saul Canelo Alvarez. This is a great fight. Now, Triple G is a plus 375 underdog, all right? I just want to give you guys a little bit of perspective of what's going on. He's a plus 375 underdog, kind of in line with the odds of the Kovalev fight, kind of in line with the odds of the Bivol fight, right around there. And I want to compare Triple G as a quality of an opponent, right? As the opponent in a big fight. And I want to see, like, how good is this fight? How good is Triple G as an opponent? So we're going to take a look at some odds and just give our thoughts about Triple G as well, because we respect him. And it takes two awesome fighters to have a great rivalry. And we really like Triple G. Well, I know I do, and I think George does. I don't know how Nopal feels, but we're going to get into that here in a second. Nando here says that Mexican boxing hipsters, tons of those in LA, to be real, always jumping on the latest bandwagon. Oh, 92 AKU. I know he's a little conflicted, right? He is the unofficial member of the Canelo cartel, but he is a Mexican for Triple G. So I don't know what's really going on with them. 92 AKU, please tell us, brother, who you rooting for this week? I'll tell you. Okay, so we know that Triple G is a plus 375 underdog, right? So that means you almost get 4-1 on your money if you bet on him. These are some mega fights that we've had since April. We're going to take a look at, like, the quality of the opposition, right? We know who the main guy is favored to win. We're going to take a look at some big B-sides and see what we think. Now, starting in April, we had a few big fights. We had a lot of unifications going on, mega fighters fighting. We have Spence versus Ugas. Ugas came in at a plus 475. Fury versus White at a plus 425. So these guys were bigger underdogs than Golovkin is going into this fight. And then the Charlo versus Castano fight, this was actually more of a coin flip fight, an undisputed unification. And Castano was only a plus 160. So maybe like a 2-1 underdog. Nopal, what are your thoughts on Triple G as an opponent versus these guys as opponents?
Are you asking as it relates to being a B-side?
Yeah, like how good is Triple G as an opponent compared to these other guys? Like his pedigree coming in. Do you think that he's better pound for pound than these guys? Like, what are your thoughts overall when you look at strong B-sides and where Triple G stands in regards to all that?
Oh, yes, of course, I think he's better pound for pound than these guys. He's better. The only guy on this list that's better than him pound for pound, I would say, is Fury. And you were only asking about the opponents. Now
Right.
I'm flipping it around and I'm saying that he's better than Spence and he's better than Charlo, in my opinion. Even at the age that they're at, I don't think either one of these dudes beats Triple G. You know what I mean? But Fury, of course, he to me, I rank him high pound for pound because he's taken the risk and he's proven himself and he's undefeated. And he's taken some good ass fights. As far as B-side opponents, man, he outranks all these dudes too, man. I think he even he's probably the best dancing partner that Canelo could have. In terms of accessory that he can use to sell the fights. You know what I mean? Because he's proven that he can fight anybody basically and sell fights. But what's going to get him over that pay-per-view hump is it has to be an opponent like Triple G. And that's, he did it with Floyd. He kind of did it with Cotto, He got a lot of pay-per-view bites. He got he sold about 800K with Plant. So he's proven that he could sell pay-per-views, but with Triple G, it's like, he's always hitting that million mark. So, that's where that's at.
All right. And George, what do you think, man, as far as this first little lineup of quality opposition, strong B-sides? How does Triple G rank up compared to these dudes right here?
Yeah, I agree with Nopal, man. He's definitely a strong B side, a strong B opponent, for Canelo. Anytime you have a guy like Canelo or Floyd, I mean, Canelo's like the last of the pay-per-view. I mean, you got the YouTube guys, but I mean, does anybody really watch them? I mean, besides the YouTube fans and that follow that kind of stuff. But as far as like real legit boxing, Canelo is like the last of it. I know they're trying to really push Earl Spence. Earl Spence had good numbers maybe a couple years back, and little by little those numbers started to decline, especially with the fight they're asking for. They're asking obviously for the Bud fight, and I think maybe they're using some kind of a tactic to try to promote the fight, getting people talking about it, like, hey, what the hell's going on? This fight's is getting to be made in November, it's getting made in December, so it is getting people talking about it. But at the same time, people will get tired of this shit if they don't get it going. But again, Canelo's that pay-per-view guy right now, the last of them. I mean, he's got a good fight, a good solid 5 years, and being competitive, and still being able to get some of those big fights out there, and whoever a B-side opponent that can come up and fight them. It's hard to really say right now, but I know that Triple G is the one right now. It's the trilogy. And I'm sure you guys see it too on Twitter. People are wondering why there's really no promotion or why hasn't been too many press conferences. I mean, why? Like, this is the third fight. It's all the magic, all the firepower, all the buzz is there already. There's no need to really try to push it. We know what we're going to expect in the third fight. But obviously the haters feel the way they feel about it. I don't really pay attention to them. I mean, I follow what we do, and what we do is we watch legit unbiased stuff. So we're good, man. I'm excited for this. It's finally here, fight week.
Yeah, well said, man. And like you said, dude, we don't have to pay attention to the bias channels anymore. There's so many damn good options. But as far as this lineup right here, dude, I agree with you guys. Ugas, I thought he was a little overrated going into that fight. People were acting like it was a coin flip fight. And I told people, why don't you bet money on it? Then you can make some real money. People were picking Ugas to win this fight. And part of it might have been because we didn't know the version of Spence. But since then, Ugas went from like this guy who was being ducked. In my opinion, he was never a guy who was being ducked. It's not like he spent his whole career being avoided by fighters. But now nobody really cares about Ugas too much. Go figure. Dillian White, I mean, that was kind of a fun fight. These odds are wider. Good B-side, but I mean, nobody expected anything. Dillian White has never really been at the highest pedigree the way Golovkin has. And I think the reason the Jermell Charlo and Castano odds were so close was obviously because of the first one. But I do think that Jermell Charlo and Castano are more evenly matched. This fight right here, Castano versus Charlo 2, it's not as high of a level of a fight as it is for Golovkin. So I think Golovkin is still a better quality opponent to Castano. Like if you put them in together now at 160 or whatever you want to say, like I'll tell you, like I think Golovkin would absolutely demolish somebody like Castano. And I'm saying all this with respect. I'm just trying to give Triple G the respect that he deserves. And then Remy here says Jermall is a beast for fighting a Mexican in Montiel. Man, where is Jermall? Is he even going to fight in 2022? Who the hell knows? And Run PMC here says Spence and Crawford aren't even close to the stars Manny and Floyd were. Just fight. Most of these boxers from this generation will be forgotten anyways. And then 92 AKU is conceding that Canelo's probably going to win. Does he go to PBC or get a rematch with Bivol? Well, I mean, that is a good question. And here are some other fights that came along the way. Benavidez versus Lemieux. Lemieux was an astounding 1,000-1 underdog. Romero plus 450, right? Those are both wider than the odds for the Canelo versus Golovkin trilogy. And then Kambosos versus Haney. Now, this was a unification fight. Kambosos was a slight underdog at plus 150. Nopal, what do you think, man? Does Triple G line up with these B-sides, or is he better than them? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he's better than them. But one thing I did appreciate with the Davis-Romero fight is how they were able to build that up with a little bit of drama. A little bit of I know that Romero's a strong B-side because he talks a lot of shit, and people love that. And he's got a lot of fans. So, that's the only, section he doesn't really stack up with where he's totally better than Golovkin, but that doesn't always translate to making that much sales. If Canelo could get a guy like that, fight against a guy like that just talks all that mess and has a good fan base, then man, he would probably be able to easily outsell the Triple G fight,
Yeah, I agree, man. The out of these here right now, I guess B side, yeah, the Romero. I mean, he sold it. He had everybody going. He even had Ryan Garcia betting Earl Spence in the crowd. He was that convinced. I mean, he sparred Romero, so he definitely felt those hands. I'm sure you guys seen the video on YouTube. But I think looking at it now, I mean, I guess Kambosos, we would say, is the B side right now, especially in a rematch. And I think he already was the B side in the first fight. So if I'm going to grade out of these three, I would say Kambosos is probably the best B side of these three. But compared to Triple G, no, none of these guys really will come close to the to Triple G B side in a Canelo fight.
Definitely, it's a pedigree thing, And when everybody was breaking down the Kambosos versus Haney fight, like everybody, nobody really did a good job of kind of like breaking down what Kambosos does so well. If we're talking about actual skill set, to me, it's not even close. Kambosos will never be a pound for pound fighter. Has never reached the heights that Triple G has, even though they're both 3-belt unified champions. Kambosos got lucky, beat Teofimo, right? On that night, he was the better man that night, but that doesn't necessarily make him better than Triple G as a fighter or as an opponent, in my opinion.
Yep. Absolutely true. Very true.
Oh, yeah. And so here's some other ones, and then we're almost done with this little segment. Betterby versus Smith Jr. Now, this was a unification fight. It was a good fight. Smith was a wider underdog at plus 450, and then the rematch with Inoue and Donaire, plus 450, still wider. The one odds here that are close are Usyk versus Joshua, the rematch. Now, Joshua came in at a plus 170, so a 2-1 underdog. That's closer. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's I can see why you saved this side for last. I think here the Usyk and Joshua one stands out obviously the most. Better Bevan Smith is actually. I mean, these are all good fights. All three of these are really good fights. If we take the odds away from them and we look at them as fans, all three of these fights, I think hardcores were really excited to see. I know Donaire probably a little bit of the least because the age, but still, Donaire went on a tear. There, I think probably after he lost to Walters, he kind of went on this run. He kind of was knocking people out. And then he met Inoue, had a great first fight. I mean, that shit was a really close fight. Some people thought it was a draw. I mean, I thought Inoue edged it out. He fought with a broken eye socket, so a rematch was good. It was good to see. Usyk Joshua, this is the rematch, correct? Is that the odds for the rematch? Yeah, okay.
That's right.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I would say the Usyk and Joshua was the B side, correct?
Yes, in the rematch, he was listed as the B side and the
B-side,
underdog.
okay.
And what we're doing is like strong underdog, like a strong underdog
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. This is that's probably the closest one I would say you can compare to Triple G. I mean, Joshua, yeah, he had some belts, he had some accomplishments. He beat Klitschko. I mean, the heavyweight division at the time when he got his belts probably wasn't as strong, but I mean, there was the three-headed monster. It was Joshua, Wilder, and Fury. I'm gonna still lean with Triple G on this, man. I'm sorry, I'm still gonna lean with Triple G on it. It's a really close one, though, I would say.
All right. Well, George says that Triple G is of a higher pedigree than Anthony Joshua as far as a B-side opposition goes, as an underdog goes. Nopal, what are your thoughts, man? Well, while I got some time, I want to give a shout out to Rum PMC, who says, I still wouldn't mind seeing Raleigh fight others at 135. Raleigh versus Ryo class should be made. And Remy here says that Golovkin has never been knocked down, and Triple G went pro around 26 or 27, has low mileage along with wear and tear. Remy, those are great points, man. And JC is in the house, man. I want to give a shout out to you. And you know what? I totally agree with you. As far as like quality of competition goes, the only person that you could really compare Golovkin to would be Anthony Joshua. There's always been questions about Anthony Joshua. He's never really fought at the highest level. He's never fought the number one guy in his division. He's been campaigning at heavyweight his whole career, just the way Triple G has. He went around and picked up vacant titles, like, kind of like, I guess you could say Triple G, because Triple G, he went around, but he was never the lineal champion at middleweight. Neither was Joshua. But to me, I always thought Joshua was a little bit limited, always had a little bit of a tank issue. And Joshua, yeah, he's a knockout puncher, but so is Triple G. Triple G has this very, very high KO ratio, and people kind of tend to forget it. I mean, he just knocked out Murata. Nopal, what are your thoughts, man? Looks like Nopal ain't here. So let's move on to the next slide. Boom. And this is the last one, the most recent pay-per-view, Ruiz versus Ortiz. Now, Ruiz was the favorite, and Ortiz was a plus 320. So right around the odds for Canelo versus Triple G. They're pretty equal. Who do you think is the stronger B-side in this comparison? And this will be the last one. George, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna lean with Triple G. I mean, I think for me, why you had the man for Triple G, right? I mean, he has a good fan base. Yes, people say that HBO that was their darling. I would agree. Yeah, it was definitely their darling. I think it was just something new. It was something exciting to see. And I'm gonna just say Triple G over Luis Ortiz on this one. I don't think it's even close.
It's not even close, and I think it's funny how some people have a problem with how old Golovkin is. He's 40. It's like, well, Ortiz, he's 42. In fact, we don't know how old this guy is. Ha ha ha, right? But he gets a pass, right? It's a pass because, I don't know, maybe Andy Ruiz, he was, I don't know, he caught lightning in a bottle once, was world champion. So he gets a pass for fighting guys like this. He's always been a heavyweight in his career. And we're watching fights like this and having to accept them. And in hindsight, just like Ugas, in my opinion, like you kind of realize where these guys are, and they're not as bad as a lot of people thought ahead of time, right? And hindsight is 2020, but I think that with Triple G, he's a commodity, man. We know what we got with Triple G. Nopal, you here with us, brother?
Uh-oh.
Otra vez?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sweet,
I'm
brother.
here.
So what are your thoughts on this one, man?
On this fight, I agree with George, man. They don't come close to Triple G as a B-side, man.
Oh yeah, and Nopal, I gotta say, brother, like out of all of us, I think you're the one who's given Triple G the most criticism about, not criticism, but let's call it what it is. His resume isn't the greatest compared to some other fighters, but he did get a little bit of a late start. But do you respect him, or like, what are your thoughts about Triple G now as we head into this trilogy?
I do respect them, but like with me, it's just like I always, I have a brother, and also, I've been around a lot of people that are like, you can see that they have a lot of potential to do a lot more, but they're like content to not go all the way and take risks. And so I got kind of like a pet peeve with that. So I'll always look at Triple G like in the shadows of Canelo. And everything that Triple G said he wanted to do, it's like Canelo went out and actually did it. So, you know what I mean? Without the fan base that Triple G had, with Canelo had support, but this dude had like a cult following, man, of dudes saying he was like the best and stuff like that. Canelo's never had that, bro. Canelo just had supporters that supported him at a time, maybe because it was like they're Mexican, so they're gonna support their countrymen. But he really didn't ever have a like true fanboys. You know what I mean? I don't think he ever had the fanboyism that Triple G had. So I do respect him a lot. I actually used to be a fan of Triple G, but when once the whole thing started where he was he wanted he wanted to fight Canelo and all that, I thought that was cool, but then I noticed the hesitation of him accepting the money that they were offering him. And in that time, like a year and a half passed, which isn't a long time, but I didn't know that the fans were going to make such a big deal out of him aging a year and a half when that was by design his choice to wait because he wanted a little bit more money. I mean, but from the beginning he was offered about $8 million. That's 3 or 4 times more than whatever he had ever made. So in my opinion, he should have just took that fight when he was, when he was offered the fight. His chances would have been better, according to his fans. He was you know. So there's a lot of things with that, with the Triple G thing. But I do respect him. I think he was a very good fighter. I just think that he did. When I look at him, like I said, he's always caught in Canelo's shadow for me, and I look at Canelo like a fighter that did take the risks. Did take the risks, and he's gonna be rewarded because of that. In my opinion, he should be rewarded. He should be celebrated a little more because compared to Triple G, he took heavier risks, and I think that's what I think about that, Chicano.
Yeah, I think maybe why Triple G maybe had like this big, okay, now that I think, I was listening to you talk, and I feel every fighter kind of has that one fighter that they're always chasing. Triple G comes in on the scene like right around the time, of course, Canelo was already, fought in Lara, he's fought in Mayweather, he's fought in all the guys that, the names that were out there. And I'm then, I think I'm like, well, this is kind of Triple G's moment to say, hey, you know what? That's the guy I'm going to chase. That's the face of boxing, right? Like that's kind of the thing you want to do. If that guy's in your division, just like everybody in the welterweight division that came up from 140 to 147, everybody was chasing Mayweather. Not everybody got a chance to get to fight Mayweather. Mayweather was the A side, obviously, so he got to pick and choose who he wanted to fight. So I feel like that's kind of the thing with Triple G. Like he's been chasing this Canelo fight. I do agree he should have taken the money a lot sooner. For whatever reason, he didn't take it. Nobody knows, only he knows in his heart. why he didn't take that fight immediately. I mean, boxing is a business, so yeah, you should take the more money, but we don't know why he didn't take that fight sooner. But I just feel like that's just what a lot of people will remember. I think that'll kind of be like the negative thing about Triple G is he chased Canelo too soon when he could have taken, like you said, on Opali, he could have taken other fights, more risks. But then we think about it at 154, that division wasn't really that stacked. It was either you had Triple G and you had Canelo eventually. He fought the guys that wanted to fight him. Nobody really wanted to fight him. He was, of course, fan friendly. He was knocking people out. He would take shots. I remember seeing. I think he did it against Stevenson, where he wasn't afraid to mix it up in there. But I think that's just going to be the thing we'll remember is for Triple G is his career is he pretty much chased Canelo, knowing that Canelo was the superstar, right? Just like Mayweather was at 147. Canelo was kind of the same thing here. So I agree. I think he should have taken a little bit more chances. He could have even went up to 160 instead of kind of staying at 154. But I mean, look at what we got out of this. We got a good trilogy. Yes, I do think it's a little bit late, but it doesn't mean that this fight isn't going to be great. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be exciting. Doesn't mean that it's not going to deliver, because we know it's going to deliver. We just know that I know it'll deliver. You guys know that this fight's going to deliver. And this will, I think a couple weeks back when we did the rescoring, I think we mentioned will Triple G and Canelo go down in history as like one of those trilogy or rivalry. And
Great
I think
rivalries.
yeah, it definitely will go down as one of the great rivalries. And I wouldn't say the greatest. I think if it was the greatest, is if Triple G got the number one. We obviously know Canelo won the second one. We all scored it that way. And this is the third one to split. Then I would definitely put that one as the greatest, because I mean you got 1-1. So you can't really break even on a draw and one win. And then if let's say Triple G wins. So then what, are we gonna have a fourth fight? I mean, so I wouldn't call it the greatest rivalry, but I'll call it one of the great rivalries.
Very nice, man. You guys said it well. And you know what? Like I said, I always felt like Golovkin was Canelo's worthy adversary. With all that being said, I agree with everything that you said, but he is the epic rival. He is Canelo's greatest win. And well, hell, that's why I got a painting to commemorate their great rivalry. And I've never really shown it off, but I feel like doing it. So we're going to do it, man. I've never actually shown this painting off. Now, I know a lot of people used to see me with my thumbnail of Canelo painted as an Aztec warrior, but I always had the second part hidden, until this awesome thumbnail. So I wanted to give a little show and tell feature to my awesome painting. I've never debuted it. So let's check this thing out, man. Got this thing taken care of a couple years back. I need to get this bad boy framed. What do you guys think?
That's badass, bro. I didn't realize that there was a second part of that. That was just like the Canelo. That's dope.
That's
dope.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome, bro.
When I had this thing commissioned, I was talking to Nopal. I got some personal touches on this bad boy. When I was talking to Nopal, we thought, yeah, should we have facial hair? Should we not have facial hair? I want to give a shout out to 868 Portraits on Instagram. He's the guy who got this thing done. And I'll tell you, dude, I went around looking for people for a long time. And what I found out is there's a lot of people who are painters, but they're more like tracers, if they have a photo to go off of, they're interested. But I had to have some things changed. Now there's a base photo based on Canelo's body and then Triple G taking the punch, but the face is different. I wanted it to look like he was kind of like, a warrior. And then also, can you also paint Canelo Alvarez as an Aztec warrior, right? And I'll tell you, a lot of people faded away. But 868 Portraits said, yeah, I could do it. And so I had some personal touches on here. The belt line's different. Also in the gloves, at the time, Canelo did not have no boxing, no life gloves, but that's what I wanted on there, and I let him do his thing. And then also he ended up putting some 3D kind of art on there. I don't know if you guys can see it as it glimmers, but I'll tell you, man, at night, this thing really pops. You know what I mean? Really proud of this piece, man. He did such a great job. I mean, the likeness of Canelo's is excellent, and it was a good price. And on top of that, I got it done at the time because hell, man, the whole thing went, it went a little too far with my fan enthusiasm, but it was only to make a point. You know what I mean? Although I did choose the colors of the first fight, right? The draw, because that's what it was, and Triple G, well, he tried his best, right? But his best just wasn't good enough, right, Nopal?
That's true, man.
Hey, did you have that guy? I'm sorry. Was that guy on one of D-Styles' show?
No,
No,
that's a
no,
different guy.
yeah,
It's a
that's a
different
different
guy.
guy.
Oh.
This guy
That you're
paints.
talking about Killian, right? Killian
Oh,
Art.
okay. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Killian. No, Killian. He sticks with boxers. This guy'll do personal photos, which he does excellent renditions. So where he is just straight up copying, man, he'll do it perfectly. He's also done Fury. He's also done Conor McGregor. So I mean, if you guys, like I said,
Oh, wow.
I was super pleased with this. So if you ever want to commission something from him, it's definitely worth the wait. This guy's extremely talented. Also, he made some adjustments. Like I let him do the colors for like all the Aztec garb, which I think he did such a beautiful job on it, right? And the other thing too is his facial hair. The first time I thought it was a little bit more yellow, and I said, "Hey, well, you know, Canelo's known for having like a little bit more of like that orange, you know, cinnamon Canelo type look. Can you brighten it up a little bit?" He goes, "Yeah, I just don't want to go too far." And I said, "I get that, you know." So we tweaked it just a little bit, and man, he gave me the adjustments that I wanted, man. So really pleased with this piece of art, and I've never had a chance to show it off, but like I said, hell, I know how I feel about the first fight, and so yeah, I wanted the initial colors of the first fight, and it was excellent, you know. And man, I'm proud to show it off. Remy here thinks it's badass. JC would like something like this in his gym. Well, you know, I'll tell you, man, it was a good time, you know. And like I said, you know, back in the day, I got this painting done, and I did the whole like Canelo as my emoji. But I'll tell you, the whole thing went a little bit too far. I was too old, right? And I was very self-aware that, you know, a grown-ass man shouldn't be having a thumbnail of another person. But I'll tell you, like 3 years ago, it wasn't so easy to be a Canelo fan here on YouTube. You know, Nopal, do you want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah, man. These guys are calling, just it's crazy. Mind you that there's like 20 dudes talking hella shit about Canelo. You just couldn't even be the guy saying one good thing about him. They were like, "Oh, you want to suck his dick?" Shit like that, like which is crazy, that they would even go there. But it's like, I don't know, like these dudes they were like, you couldn't say one good thing. And there was good things to say about Canelo. He's always been pretty good. You know what I mean? And all those improvements that he did, but you just couldn't even state the facts without these guys trying to say that you were some kind of fanboy dick rider. It was crazy, bro.
Oh yeah, you know, and we would have painted ourselves into a corner, man. Like I was not a YouTube personality. Now I got like a humble channel, you know, but I saw Nopal out there on the block doing his thing, you know, and and like 3 years ago, like after the Kovalev fight, you know, people were entertaining the fight, the fact that the fight was fixed. And, you know, you heard people kind of going like, well, we'll never know, you know, it could be fixed, could not be fixed, you know. And then I was sitting there listening and I was realizing that besides D-style boxing, like, you know, the Mexicans really didn't have anywhere to go, even though Canelo was the biggest superstar at the time, right? Had the best resume at the time outside of Pacquiao, was probably one of the most accomplished, had the best, most recent fights, had the best resume overall, and he was getting criticized, and I didn't understand why, you know. So yeah, dude, like, you know, I decided to come online, and you know, we would have been painted into a corner of the Mexicans. Like I remember a time where people were trying to say that Mikey Garcia, right, took on a bigger challenge by facing Jesse Vargas, right, than Canelo did in the Golovkin rematch. And I'm sitting there kind of thinking about it, and it's like, I don't really know what's going on. But, you know, I look at Mikey Garcia, who was a huge favorite against a guy in Jesse Vargas who wasn't ranked anywhere. And, well, Triple G, let's remember he was the unified champion. Let's remember he was ranked #1 pound for pound at the time. Let's remember he was he was a favorite, the betting favorite. And it's like, man, there's something horribly wrong going on. So, you know, I decided to come on in, you know, and start just kind of asking some questions, right? And it was real easy, right? I would ask a few things. I would say, okay, what problems do you have with Canelo? Okay, who's your favorite fighter? Who are we comparing him to? Oh yeah, that's what I thought. You can't be a Canelo hater and be consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think even the media wasn't giving him his just due. They were playing the role where, Triple G was going to knock his ass out. Even after the first fight, I don't care what your score was, how much you had Golovkin winning by. If you can't look at the film and see all the great shit that Canelo did, I mean, you don't deserve to talk about boxing, And in my opinion, whether you think he lost or not, as soon as that fight was over, the Ring magazine and everybody should have moved Canelo up on the pound for pound list, at least a slot, you know, because he proved what pound for pound means. For me, well, this is what it means to me. Is I grew up in the era where I was watching boxing heavily when you had you had Marquez, and you had Pacquiao, and all three of these dudes were moving up divisions, fighting dudes bigger than them. And these guys, you best believe they were top 5 pound for pound. Floyd was like number 1. It was interchangeable with like Pacquiao, and of course, Marquez was always like in the 5th or 4th spot. So this is what I look for. And Canelo moved up and fought Triple G, and and he showed those pound for pound qualities. And I don't think that they gave him any. I think that they messed up by not moving him up at least a slot. I think around that time he was 5th or 6th pound for pound, but I think they should have moved him up a little bit after, even though it was only a draw or whatever. But you can see the qualities of a pound for pound fighter there.
Oh, definitely. And here, JC says, yep, they be lurking from time to time. I think he's talking about the closet Canelo haters. Well, they're out there, and well, you can find them if you want. But, I got to say, like, since then, bro, like, we've come out, you know what I mean? People like myself, Nopal, 92 AKU, there were some people out there that we started talking back, man, and it started getting really easy to just change the narrative, man. Along the way, there were some great channels that have come along and are fair towards Canelo and giving him the respect that he deserves. I want to give a shout out to Black and Brown Boxing. I also want to give a shout out to is the Boricuas, man. They came out of the woodwork to defend Canelo when I felt like maybe, who knows, maybe Mexicans were too scared, but he was a Latino, man. And I want to give a shout out to Major Key Boxing, Guido, right? Also, I want to give a great shout out to the British fan base. The second, one or two, it's like 1A and 1B. They are such a great fan base, and they have a whole hell of a lot of respect for Canelo, just like we do. And along the way, in the last couple of years, I think, as far as I can recall, I was the first one who started kind of just saying out loud, like, hey, we need to consider the fact that Canelo might be the greatest fighter of his generation. And like you said, Nopal, like, what are we going to suppress, man? Like, it's been great having Canelo. He happened to be born in Mexico, Guadalajara, right? We're very lucky that as Mexican fight fans, we have somebody who was the torchbearer, put Mexican boxing on his back, right, for over a decade, and has been performing at a very high level and has a very, very successful career and is still very disciplined, even though he's probably the richest active boxer. It's super impressive. George, what do you got to say about Canelo being the greatest fighter of this generation?
Hey, I'm not going to sit here and say I was a hater. I think for me, not understanding and not getting into like the details of stuff, right? Like not seeing, of course I appreciate the accomplishments, but the business side of it, like like Nopal just said, Triple G was offered a fight. Charlo's offered fights. He even tried to go around Yildirim to get to Andrade, and I guess I don't know if it was the WBC or WBA declined that. So he's been making all these moves, and it's the stuff that you see that you don't see, that's behind closed doors, the small little detail, fine print things, which makes me appreciate it, which makes me appreciate him more. And I've always appreciated Canelo, so I'm not a hater. I mean, he's Mexican. That was one of my dad's favorite fighters, of this generation. And like I've even mentioned it, he's like the last of like the pay-per-view guys. And if people use numbers and go based off numbers, oh wow, Floyd, he was one of the greatest pay-per-view kings or whatever, and now like Canelo is kind of that guy. I don't think we'll ever see that happen anymore, only because of this day and age when we got streaming. Now, if we went back to cable and they took away streaming, and the only way, or they took away internet, that's the only way I could see like the next pound for pound king. But just right now, what we have Canelo, and we love it, man. And like I said, I appreciate every accomplishment he's done. It's every fighter has fought guys that we not agreed with. So we can't sit here and nitpick at certain fighters and not say the other guys are not doing it. We got to we just deal with what we got to deal with now. And hey, dude, he's great. His accomplishments are great. But you also obviously see too, after the Bivol loss, like people are slowly like pushing him further and down the ranking on pound for pound. I don't agree with that. So it's not fair, and the criticism he gets isn't fair either. And then once obviously you put facts over feelings. I mean, you have channels out there like Monty Brown. He
Shout out to
loves,
Monty Brown.
yeah,
Good
Monty
call.
Brown loves Canelo. You have IBFP too. That guy absolutely loves Canelo. So, and you know what? His channel is great because he goes in on the haters and he drops facts, and they're like 3-minute videos, like straight to the point. And if any person ever wants to down talk or talk negatively on Canelo's accomplishments, just go watch a 3-minute video on IBFP and you'll see he puts posts of stuff out on boxing scene. And he just dropped facts, man. There's no BS on that guy's channel. The same thing with Monty. So I'm a Canelo fan. I might not be diehard or go crazy like some channels are, us here. And I appreciate it. Hey, you got to have a favorite fighter. My favorite fighter for me was Cotto. So if I came out with a YouTube channel, I probably would be representing the favorite fighter to like Cotto, just like how you guys do with Canelo. But he's up there, man. He's one of the greats of this generation in this era. Can't hate him.
No, man, and there shouldn't be a reason for us to hate him. Like, there's reasons why, it might be unpopular to like him, but it's not like that anymore. But, I'll tell you, like, we just watched a UFC card over the weekend, and I was commenting to the fellas in the little group chat that, like, it was amazing to me how much appreciation Diaz and his opponent were getting just by hardcore fans. Like, they just root for their fighters, Sin Vergüenza, and they can enjoy it. Like, this idea that you can't root for a fighter because I'm not sure. Like, I've heard things like, oh, well, you have to root for boxing and not fighters. That's one of the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Plus, there's nobody that's consistent on that, right? And then on top of that, too, it's like, oh, there's a little bit of tribalism going on. It's like, okay, well, tribalism, like, who do you expect me to root for? I mean, it's just like rooting for my favorite team. I have an appreciation for all fighters. Like, you don't have to be Mexican to like Canelo, but I'll tell you what, bro, it's been awesome. He could have been born anywhere else and bringing glory to any other country, but he happens to be Mexican. And it's been an awesome ride, bro. We've gone back and we've talked about his fights since he was like 22 years old. He's been taking care of business, bro. How many fighters can do that? How many fighters can stay on track? You know what I mean, Nopal?
Yeah, exactly, man. You're totally right about that, man. And it's when you look back at what it took for it to be okay to finally root for the guy. I mean, it took a lot of work, man. It took a lot of work, man. There were some people lost along the way, people that got hurt their feelings, you know what I mean? Because they don't like Canelo, and unfortunately there is guys that do root for him, and just because they don't agree, they got their feelings hurt about it, and now they don't want to be our homies no more, but whatever, good riddance.
Well, like I said, man, yeah, good riddance. All I could do is just have a good time with the homies and go to the channels that I want to. Our homie Drew Evo is here, and we were talking about the fact, what's up, brother? We're here staying on code. You know it, Philly. But we were just talking about the fact that, there's no reason to be listening to people that you don't want to listen to anymore. Like, there's so many decent, objective, or pro Canelo channels out there. And it's been one hell of a ride. We should celebrate the glory that he's brought. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to D-Style Boxing, right? He's been keeping it real. And he is going to be having a Days of Future Past. Like, what if Canelo didn't exist? Like, there would be a void in Mexican boxing, right? Can you imagine if we had to plane ourselves into a corner and act like Mikey Garcia was the promised one, the way he would have fizzled out? Like, who could have carried the torch? We would have been in like, I don't want to say like we would have had like Puerto Rican problems, but it wouldn't have been a great situation for us to have. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
Yeah, it would have been a dry spot. I mean, yeah, like right now, right? Puerto Ricans are trying to like for that next person after Cotto. I mean, there's promises out there. There's promises with Zaya.
And let me catch this while you're mentioning the Puerto Ricans. It's embarrassing that that's kind of one of the things that it took. It took them, our buddies, Guido, Major Key, it took them to freaking actually tell a couple of our homies, hey, what are you guys doing? We would kill for a fighter like as good as Canelo right now. You know what I mean? That would revamp our whole program over here if we had somebody that good. It took them guys to tell people, hey, it's okay to root for Canelo. We wish we had a Canelo.
That's absolutely right. I want to give a shout out to Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and More. Great channel. If you guys all don't know him, you need to go over there and check that out. Thanks for joining us, brother. Man, I mean, these are all great points. And like I said, I've just been enjoying the ride, and when Canelo takes his losses, he's getting into his mid to late 30s. He's going to get into his mid 30s soon. Like, it's all right. Like, hey, we were on after the Bivol loss, immediately on after, I took that video down for my own reasons, but we were just hanging out, having a good time, and a loss is a loss. Like, it doesn't really affect us. Canelo fans haven't really gone anywhere. There weren't really any people crying. We know what it's like. Canelo's already lost, so anything right now is just bonus. When he keeps adding to his legacy, when he goes up and he fights somebody like Triple G, he gets to add an epic rivalry, right, to his resume, an epic trilogy, because all the best rivalries, if you look at top 10 lists, they always have at least 3 fights. Usually if there's 2 fights, it is a rivalry, but it's not as highly regarded. And this one will be a little bit more conclusive, right? And it will have an ending to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I saw a comment from I think it was Nando. Oh yeah, it was Nando. He said, "JM, Juan Marquez only won 1 fight against Pac, and that was an all-time great series." I agree with that. I think what would make this an all-time great series is if somehow Triple G can pull something crazy out of his ass like Marquez did, but it'll go down as one of the great as one of the greats for sure.
Oh man, yeah, no, I mean you said it. But like, I think that Triple G, if he is going to stick around and feed his career to somebody, like it should be somebody like Canelo Alvarez. It'd be a great way to kind of end things. And, you don't want to, I mean, he obviously hasn't been fighting other fighters, right? So he's kind of been preserving himself. Like, he was in a division where he could have fought Andrade, right? Same network. There would have been no issues to make that fight. On the fight, he could have fought Charlo, but he never really did. But Canelo was actively just attaining more when he went undisputed, right? And he's still the undisputed champion. He's the man at 168 pounds. Want to give a shout out to John Blaze, says Canelo's great. There's no doubt about it. And Nando says some fools talk shit about Canelo fans and shut off their mentions. Pillow soft ass. Well, there you go. And Remy here says it's one of those homies coming back around from his biased views and ways. Are there people coming around? Well, if they are, all I got to say is this, man. Like, I've never gotten in the way of people who have like got these like deep-seated issues about Canelo. They're always allowed to root for the torchbearer of Mexican boxing. I've never been somebody who's like, oh, you can't. No, dude. If you have an appreciation, everybody has that time in which they kind of go, okay, well, I'm going to give Canelo his respect. Our homie Dave from the 408 said it was right around that Trout fight. Same for me, man. I didn't like Canelo at first. I didn't like all the attention he was getting right away. It took a while for me to respect him, but I realized that the goods are the goods, and he ended up being the greatest fighter of his generation. Like, it wasn't hard to assess him at the time. Like, I'm not going to sit there and nitpick him. That's just not my way. So yeah, dude, if people are coming back around, I think that's a good thing, but it doesn't matter, because we're all in good headspaces now, man. It's been a great ride. El Chido says all channels that say Canelo fans just not want to say Mexicans. They don't want to come off racist, but they clearly are. Well, there's a bit of that out here too. I don't listen to those guys as much, but yeah, man, they love talking about stuff, and that's all right. As long as they're doing their thing. Like, I don't go around hating like other fighters that much. To me, it's like a real negative energy to be in. Like, for instance, like, Wilder took a loss, but I wouldn't go out of my way. Like, say I didn't like Wilder. I do like Wilder, but say I didn't, like, I wouldn't go around going like, oh, look at this guy, and post photos of him getting knocked down, knocked out, going like being deadheaded, ready to hit the mat. Like, I don't need to do that. Like, for what, man? Like, I'm here to celebrate all these fighters. I respect a lot of these boxers, man. So anybody got any final thoughts on that before we move to our next segment?
None.
All right. Well, it's time, fellas. We are going to break down this fight, and then after that, we got a little raffle, and then we're going to go to our predictions. So I'm glad that you all are here hanging out, man. This is Fight Week, and we are very excited about it. And we're going to do it, man. 12 rounds. We're going to break down the skill set of these fighters and let you know what we think.
Al Chile presents 12 rounds. Canelo versus Triple G.
Go.
Round 1. Power.
All right. Nopal, let's start with you, brother. Who do you favor as far as power goes in this?
So with power, it's kind of like this is a difficult one because, on the one hand, Triple G is known for his power. You know what I mean? He's got one hit power. But on the other hand, when you look at the guys he's knocked out, it's a joke of a resume. When I see the way that, like, they celebrate his wins over Macklin and the other dudes that look sloppy as hell, bro, like, you know what I mean? I laugh like a motherfucker about that. But you can still see, without being biased, you can still see that he has lots of power. And, on the other hand, you got Canelo over here who's steadily been increasing his level of opposition, since the day that he fought Mosley, which some people think is actually funny because, Mosley was pretty old. I think he was, like 38 or something?
Yeah.
And they consider that really old, right? But they don't consider how young Canelo was, right? He was 19 without that amateur career or nothing like that. So they don't balance that out and say, hey, it was a pretty good challenge. You know what I mean? But as I said, he steadily always, increased his level of opposition, and he doesn't have 20 straight knockouts or whatever, or 10 straight knockouts, like whatever Triple G had on his, which they were celebrating on Triple G's hand. He doesn't have that 10 straight knockout thing, but how could you? When you have a resume like Canelo, you're not going to knock all your dudes out because you've been fighting the best of the best, basically, that's available for you. So, of course, you're not going to have all these knockouts. So, and, Canelo has actually moved up to 168. He's moved up to 175, and his power has carried up with guys that are like 15, 20 pounds heavier than him. So on this one, I just, you know what I mean? I had to give it to Canelo 60-40.
All right. And, and I had to do some convincing. Nopal, when he gave me his list, man, he had it even. And I was surprised. I told him, like, you better stay on code, but I was just kidding about that. But we had a conversation because we love to talk boxing. George, you have equal respect from what I can tell. Why don't you tell us about how you view power between these two fighters?
Yeah, it's same reasons pretty much what I'm sorry, Remy. Nopal just pretty much mentioned, it's kind of the level of opposition, which isn't a bad thing, but yeah, we see Triple G knockout, like you said, guys like Macklin, Rubio, Stevenson. But the thing is, the power's there. And when someone has power, they got power. And he's knocking these guys out before 5 rounds. Yeah, he steps up in competition. He fights someone like a Daniel Jacobs, doesn't knock him out. Then it's kind of you kind of question, like, okay, where is his power, or is it just the level of competition that he's fighting? But it's a tough one, and I text you guys. I was like, look, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go like with a grade, between the A and F. I think it's kind of fair to kind of go with it. I did give these guys like a B+ in power. I mean, yeah, they haven't. You're not gonna really find anybody that's gonna knock out every single guy, even at a high level. But actually, I feel like their power showed exactly where they're at when they fought each other. Like, neither guy backed down. Both guys were pretty beat up. You could tell both guys respected each other's power. And then the same thing with Canelo. I believe he said that Triple G definitely's got some legit power. So, I mean, if it's coming from Canelo, we know Canelo, one of the best chins out there, one of the toughest. I'm gonna agree with it. But I think I'm gonna go down the board, and I'm gonna call this one even. I gave them both a B+ in power.
Awesome. Thank you so much, George. And just as a reminder, we're going to be doing a raffle here pretty shortly. JC says I should raffle off the portrait. I don't think so, man. Maybe I'll make a print for you, brother. If you want a print, maybe I'll hook you up.
Oh, man. The portrait.
Can you imagine? That would be awesome. That would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. Not today anyways, but I appreciate the sentiment because it is a bitchin' painting. And, well, thank you so much, George. George has it even. When I thought about this, like, I got to say, I also respect Triple G's power. He has an excellent KO ratio. He's still knocking out dudes, with the exception of certain fights in which some people think he lost. Jacobs, Deveryanchenko. I happen to think that he won both of those fights. I think that he's got very respectable power. Also very respectable power in both hands, but do I think that Golovkin could go up to 168 pounds? And do I think that he could lay out folks the way Canelo was doing? Do I think he could go up and lay out Kovalev at 175 the way Canelo did, I have my doubts. I think it's close, but I think that as far as pure power goes, I think that Canelo has the advantage. Now, one of the things that we saw in the rematch was Canelo decided to stand his ground and they fought power versus power straight up. Okay. Now, the more powerful guy doesn't necessarily always win, right? I mean, you could probably look at like the Fury versus Wilder fight, right? And people would agree that Wilder has the better punching power, but Fury was the one who won, right? So I do think chins count for something, but when you look at their faces afterwards and you just look at the overall damage and who just got their ass beat, like you could tell who was taking more punishment, even though Golovkin had very good activity. So I'm going to give this edge to Canelo slightly with respect to Golovkin, but the majority votes that Canelo wins this one.
Advantage Canelo. Round 2. Speed.
All right. Nopal, tell us about it, man. Speed. What do you think?
So speed, I have Canelo 60-40. And 60-40 for me is pretty close. But, I think that Canelo has more speed, mostly hand speed, Triple G telegraphs his punches a little more. And, they were very easy for Canelo to get out of the way of. And I don't think that would have changed much had Triple G been a little younger even, I think he was operating at his best when he was like at 35, right around where the first fight happened. I don't think he got any slower. I don't think he was any faster. I think he was right there still, and so I think that Canelo just has a little bit more speed than Triple G.
All right. George, what do you think, man?
I agree. Oh, sorry. I agree. I definitely would say Canelo has the upper hand in speed out of the two. I would give Canelo a B and then Triple G a B minus, almost like a C plus. Not that he's slow, and yeah, he is little telegraphed with his punches. But it's obvious that Canelo has the speed, even if you don't compare them to each other, or if they don't fight each other. Like you can see Canelo. I mean, yeah, Mayweather is fast, but you can see there was timing there, and Mayweather had Canelo's timing down just right. I feel like he kept up pretty good with the speed. It wasn't like he was that much further behind. But at 168, Canelo does have the speed over Triple G.
Thank you so much, George. And I actually had speed for Triple G. Like, I've always thought that Canelo's speed in general was a little overrated. When I look at speed, I look at hand speed as well as foot speed. And I think that Triple G does an excellent job of utilizing both at the same time. Way better on the front foot at it, right? But on top of that too, when I watched that second fight, Canelo is a natural counter puncher, but he was also just punching when he wanted to punch. So it's not like he was always just counter punching. And I felt like Triple G was a little bit faster on the draw, in my opinion. On top of that, too, when Triple G wanted to go on the back foot and escape, I would say that Triple G had better footwork, faster footwork, backing out than Canelo had necessarily trying to chase him down. Although that didn't last for too long, but there were segments of it. So I personally give the edge to Golovkin as far as speed goes. As far as current form, it's hard to say, but like I said, I've always had a little bit of an open question as far as like Canelo's speed. I've always thought it's been like, above average, but nothing super special. But, I've been outvoted here.
Advantage Canelo. Round 3. Offense.
All right, George, what do you think?
This is a tough one too. I slightly gave it to Canelo on the offense. And I mean, Triple G can put punches together, great offense as well. But I think for me, like I kind of go based off like the last maybe couple fights or even the fight that they had with each other. I feel like Canelo had a little bit better offense. Yeah, Canelo did lose to Bivol, but I mean, before that, he was on a tear. His offense definitely showed. Same thing with Triple G. His offense showed, especially against Murata when he had to show, some toughness. And putting punches together too. Like Canelo he's more of a counter fighter, but just the way he puts the punches together. His counters, his left hook to the top, right hook to the left hook to the body, and then he mixes it very well. So yeah, I'm looking at it right here. I definitely went Canelo on this one slightly, like the grade A, and then Triple G A minus. So pretty damn close.
Pretty damn close. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
I completely agree. I made this 55-45 Canelo. Also because of his last fights. I mean, the guys he was in there with are guys that are defensive fighters, the last fighters, to become undisputed. Guys that would never get knocked out by hardly any, that have never been knocked out, right? But Canelo goes in there and he figures them out, sees they're weak, seizes the moment, you know, watches them, leads them into a trap, and bam, knocks them out. So, I don't, Triple G, when you look at his career, he hasn't been in that situation. He couldn't do it with Jacobs. And, somebody out there is going to say, hey, Canelo wasn't able to do it with Jacobs either. But, I think that was a different Canelo. I think that if Canelo was to fight him now, he would completely probably KO Jacobs.
Oh yeah, great breakdown, man. So I have to agree with you guys, man. I think that as far as total offense goes, yeah, dude. To me, I think Canelo has the better offensive arsenal. I do think that they both have great lead left hands, and I think that Triple G's lead left hands underappreciated. So I have a lot of respect for his power, which is also included in total offense. I feel like Triple G can kind of abandon the body work. But he's got a really good uppercut. He's got a really nice cross, beautiful lead left hook, which you can also turn into a jab. He's got very good offense, but I think Canelo, he's really good with mixing up his punches. Although, like he's a good 1-2 combination puncher these days, right? I think Triple G's got more like fast, like not as hard combination punching, which is very good. So I have a real respect for Golovkin's offense. But he was better when he was more on the front foot. It's changed a little bit now. And Canelo, he's been knocking out fools ever since he hasn't had to cut weight. So I think that as far as like his overall offensive arsenal, you could tell that it's more effective, does more damage. Yeah, dude, at 168 pounds. So it's a clean sweep for Canelo Alvarez.
Advantage Canelo. Round 4, defense.
All right. Georgie, what do you think, man?
Yes. This one I think was a tough one for me. Like I had a reference, I had to go watch YouTube, and there is YouTube videos on compilations on both guys' defense. And one channel I came across was BDA Boxing, and he did a breakdown on both guys' defenses in the second fight. If we're gonna go based off what they've done against each other, like this was, dude, I'm telling you, I recommend, if you haven't watched it, go watch the BDA Boxing breakdown on both guys' defense in the rematch. And obviously when you watch it live, you're catching the subtle things. You're not really paying attention to the small details until someone actually pauses it and puts your mindset of the fighter. So like you got to see the mindset of what Triple G was thinking in the moments of Canelo throwing combinations, the subtle half steps, smothering Canelo, making Canelo miss. And both guys are pretty much the same thing, man. And there was a really freaking good video. And yes, they hit each other. It's boxing. You're gonna get hit. And the reason why I went B+ for both guys is because of the rematch. Like I felt like that was fight of the year. I mean, they got fight of the year in that rematch. They both did great things, especially the defense. I think that defense made a difference in that one. But I have to say, man, both those guys have good defense, and I'm going with B+, straight down the middle.
All right. Well, Georgie has it even. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
I got a 60-40 for Canelo because this is why. I'm not saying Golovkin doesn't got great defense. He does have great defense, but it's just different than Canelo's. Triple G, what he does is he's a master at reading the distance, holding a distance where you just can't reach him, to be honest. So he's not in position to get hit. The only thing that's in his position is his jab to land on you. So that's the way he operates. Now, he doesn't risk like Canelo. Canelo gets in there and moves his head around where you can't hit him. And that's how you're going to miss Canelo, because he's going to he's got really good head movement. So I appreciate the fact that Canelo's in there taking that risk to fight on the inside. He's willing to, take a couple blows, I guess, but at the same time, so they both got really good defense, but I appreciate Canelo's more because he does take the risk of fighting on the inside more and having to move his head. He even gets on the ropes and does, it gives us a great show on top of everything. So 60-40 Canelo on defense.
All right. Great stuff, No Ball. And I pretty much have to co-sign everything that you said, man. I think that Triple G has decent defense. Also, he's very good at going on the back foot when he needs to, right? So he's got good legs, like I mentioned. So I think that he really can use that as a form of defense, and he doesn't stay out of the pocket too long. He resets pretty quickly, which I respect. I don't like runners. Triple G is not a runner. So I think that he has good defense in that sense. But as far as like who's getting more tagged in mid range or close range, who's got the better head movement, like I gotta say, Canelo dominates all of those. So although George has it even, the rest of us go to Canelo. So we know who wins this one.
Advantage Canelo. Round 5. Footwork.
All right. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
So on this one, I could make it 50-50, but I actually wrote it down as 55-45 for Canelo. We saw him fight one, how he was able to give us that African-American style on the back foot and be real defensive. But at the same time, he didn't just rely on that. He relied on other stuff, and he mixed it up, and he came forward, walked Triple G down a little bit. Center of the ring was his real estate, to be honest. That's where he had the most success. So he's down to give us a little bit of everything. So, with this one, it's just whoever's footwork you like the best. I think that they're pretty evenly matched on a lot of these categories.
Yeah.
All right. So slight edge, George. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, this 12-round one, all 12 rounds are pretty damn close. And this is one that's definitely really close. But I slightly favor Canelo in this one. And it kind of goes obviously with the defense, being able to get himself in position. And we've seen, we go back to some of the fights like Austin Trout, Caleb Plant, against fighters that are a little bit more slick, a little more faster. You saw the footwork displayed there. This one was a close one, but I slightly favor Canelo. I gave it Canelo an A and Triple G a B+.
All right. Well, another one for Canelo. I got to say that I favor Triple G in this category. I think that Triple G has excellent footwork. I think that he's really fast on his feet. I think he's also excellent at cutting off the ring. Now, we don't see that as much as we used to, right? But we also know that he can go on his back foot, and he can punch with his lead left hand very well on the way out. So he's very coordinated, in my opinion. I think he's an excellent mover. I think he's got a good sense of range within the ring, but so does Canelo. Canelo's got very intelligent footwork. It doesn't waste too much energy, and he's changed the way he feels the need to cut off the ring on people, and apply that type of nice, steady pressure. And he has a good range as well. Canelo has an excellent understanding of range. I just think that if Triple G is not gassed, I think that he just has better footwork all around. So I happen to favor Triple G slightly in this category, but it looks like I've been outvoted.
Advantage Canelo. Round 6, Ring IQ.
All right, Georgie, Ring IQ.
Yeah, Ring IQ. Again, another really freaking close one. Very good. Around here, Ring IQ. I give it to both guys, man. Ring IQ covers from offense to defense. And offense and defense, I pretty much have them pretty much even on this. So, and I'm gonna go here as well with Ring Generalship. Ring IQ with them being even. Ring IQ, obviously, knowing it goes with everything. It just isn't offense. It's defense. It's being smart, doing things that you want the other guy to do. And like you just mentioned, Chicano, with Triple G, cutting off the ring. That's a big one. He doesn't really chase around. He knows how to stalk his fighters properly. And this one's for me is an even one. I got this one an A for both guys.
All right, Georgie has it even. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
I slightly favor Canelo on this one because there was times in there, and I've even heard Triple G uh, mention certain strategies that are used in professional boxing that he necessarily wasn't expecting. You know what I mean? So I think that Canelo's got a little bit more ring IQ, but they might be about even right now. You know.
Yeah, dude, I hear what you're saying. Great breakdown by both of you guys. Like I think it's pretty damn close to even. If I had to give anybody the edge on a ring IQ, it'd have to be Canelo. They both have discipline and they're both good at taking what their trainers tell them, and applying it to their game as best they can. So I have a real respect for the ring IQ of both of them. Also, like I said, in that second Golovkin Canelo fight, we saw that Triple G was able to fight differently when he needed to, when he was forced to be on the back foot. So that was pretty impressive to see him utilize skills that we hadn't seen maybe ever. He doesn't really box like that too often. It's a little different now, but he's got a nice skill set. I think he understands the rhythm of fighters. But, I think as far as like total ring IQ, when you talk about Canelo Alvarez, he does everything so well. He understands how to make adjustments. He's been in there against some of the very best boxers. He's been in there against Mayweather. A lot of people thought he ended up being very slick afterwards, and I'd have to say, like, you could see him adapt and change over time. He's been able to continue to adjust to be a real complete fighter. The way he moves, the way he understands when punches are coming, like he's just got such a sense of timing, and he understands that based on just experience, So I think the experience counts for ring IQ. He also outboxed Miguel Cotto. It was a boxing match. Canelo outboxed him, used his power. I thought he did a really good job against Mosley, and people don't talk about it, but even Mosley said, like, hey, I was trying to do some crafty stuff in there, and he was aware of all of it, and it didn't really work, So I think this is close, but as far as like the ability to make adjustments and just IQ in the ring, I think Canelo really knows what he's doing. So it looks like Canelo has the advantage in this one.
Advantage Canelo. Round 7. Durability.
Great category. Georgie, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I don't have my cam on, but I'm over here smiling at this one because this one is a great category for both guys. I mean, it shows the durability, especially Canelo, Triple G versus Jacobs. It showed his durability in there against Murata. Both fights against each other, and same goes for Canelo. They both showed each other's durability to withstand punches, to exchange, not give in. Neither guy was trying to give in to each other. It showed their toughness. I mean, I hate to be the guy to go down the middle on this one. I know I sent you my scores or my 12 rounds, but now that I think about it, man, I do gotta slightly favor Triple G on this one. I just gonna go with it because yeah, he Canelo did lose to Bivol, but it showed a little bit in there, and yeah, he bit down and he tried to dig it out, but I think that's for me where they just showed like the durability for me. I just have to slightly favor Triple G. If I do a grade here, I'm still gonna give Triple G an A and Canelo like a really high A minus. So it's pretty damn close, man.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Noteball, what do you think, brother?
So I like this category too, durability, and it's I gotta favor Golovkin. Now I would, in parentheses, I would put to be determined because I kind of associate durability with longevity as well. And Triple G is already 40, and he's still operating at a pretty high level. Granted, he hasn't taken much damage in his career. He's had very easy fights, but at the same time, I mean, he's smart enough to know that he doesn't want to take too much damage. So at the same time, I mean, he's proven to be more durable right now because of his age. Of course, Canelo's only 30, so he got 10 years to go. And you ask yourself, with the risk taking that Canelo does, he's willing to fight these big ass dudes that potentially could even, you know, knock him out maybe because they have such an advantage over him 10, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. on fight night, they got advantages over him. Will Canelo be able to operate at that level when he's 40? Maybe not, and hopefully he's smart enough to call it quits when he needs to. But this is one that I don't mind just favoring Golovkin with. But like I said, it can be determined later who's more durable,
Hey, man, I think that's a great way to put it. Triple G, his chin is definitely held up in his older age. I didn't really think about it like that, man. That's a great point. As far as durability goes, I had favored Canelo, but you guys are making a convincing argument. I think that Canelo's shown that he's got one hell of a durable chin, and so is Golovkin. I mean, if I'm sitting there saying, well, Golovkin took the ass whooping in the second fight. Well, he took it. Like, he didn't necessarily stand on the inside or in mid-range for too long, right? But he was still able to take the best shots Canelo had at 160 pounds. Now, we don't know what Triple G, how he'll take punches, right, at 168 or 175 pounds, the way we know Canelo can take shots from the naturally bigger guys, So I do understand where you guys are coming from. If I had to guess, age out of the way, like if we're just talking about current form, durability, I'd have to say that I would give it to Canelo, but it looks like Triple G gets the edge in this one. I don't have a Triple G being the winner slide because I think George, he switched up a little bit, you know what I mean? So I think we had it even, but advantage Triple G.
Round 8, tenacity.
All right, George, what do you think? Tenacity. It's a different category. Why don't you tell us how you view the two to be different, and who do you have favored?
Tenacity compared to durability.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I said, when I gave you my scores and my grades on these, 6 and 7 they were even, and I know I switched up right here at the last minute. I fucked up the slide. I apologize. I'm over here laughing, but
that's all good, man. It's all good.
I mean, when when we explained it, you told me it's just like that grit, that chin, like you kind of correlate tenacity with chin, and I mean, this is why I believe this one here is a split down the middle. Both guys chins, both tasted good shots against each other. And against other fighters as well. I mean, I watched. I don't know. Did you watch the DAZN 3 series with the Canelo? They showed some Kovalev. Kovalev landed some good shots too. He took those good shots. He took Bivol's best shots at 175. A younger, better fighter at 175, undefeated, which was crazy. So man, tenacity. I have to go down the middle with these guys here. Same thing with Triple G. He's taking great shots from Daniel Jacobs, the 2 fights here against Canelo. They both got, I think when we speak of chins here, in this time of boxing, I would say that those 2 guys are at the top of the list, and those are the 2 names that you see is Triple G and Canelo with chins.
All right, thank you so much. George has it even. No ball. Who do you favor, man?
I favor Canelo slightly, by like 55-45.
Yeah, you know what? I got to agree, man. I favor Canelo slightly as well. As far as like tenacity goes, not counting the Bivol fight, because I think that's kind of like an isolated fight. I think that Canelo does have the tenacity. When you look at the second fight, we already know what it's like when these 2 guys measure up and they have to really show their grit. Who has the most grit when it comes down to it if they're both trying to make their stand, right? Now, we know that Triple G can fight off the back foot, but he's absolutely better on the front foot. Everybody knows that, right? And Canelo forced Triple G on the back foot. As far as tenacity goes, Triple G lost that second fight, right? And he owes it to himself. He was instructed by his corner to, hey, do what you do, go forward. Canelo's right where we want him. We asked for Mexican style. We got it. And as far as grit goes, there was so much punishment that Triple G had to exit the pocket and he had to fight differently. He was getting hit to the body so badly, and we know that he doesn't really like it to the body, and I think that as far as like overall tenacity goes, I'd have to say that, I would favor Golovkin, but I do definitely respect the tenacity of Triple G, but we know who wins this one.
Advantage Canelo.
And before we go to the next category, I want to give a shout out to Dave from the 408, the Shoe Shine, he says he's just wondering what happened to Canelo's ring IQ in the most recent fight. That's all right. I knew Dave was going to come around and be salty a little bit. It's okay. You know, he's one of my top 2 favorite haters, Canelo haters. It's him and Drew Evo. You know, I don't particularly know what Dave's issue is, you know, but that's all right. You don't have to like Canelo so much. You know, you get that glory of Mexican boxing being successful because of Canelo. If you want to undercut him, that's all right. Does anybody want to answer this one for us?
I think I'm going to stay out of that one.
No, Paul, what do you got to say to Dave from the 408?
About Canelo's ring IQ, man, he had enough IQ.
Where was it in the most recent fight? He wants to know.
I mean, he had enough IQ to survive and know that he got tired and, you know, knew what he had to do to not lose. I mean, not get knocked out, right? Put anybody else in there and they would have probably got knocked out. So, you know, it just depends how you look at it.
There's a difference between like ring IQ, I think, and like skill set and fatigue setting. And ring IQ has nothing to do with a person's tank, right? I mean, so I think if Canelo was a little bit more active, things could have been a little bit different. Canelo was gassed, you know, so there's really nothing you could say about that. As far as you know, I would have to say Canelo's defense was still excellent. He just couldn't pull the trigger on power punches. And, you know, also we can't discount the great game plan that Bivol had. We can't discount the fact that Canelo went up to 175 pounds and weight classes matter and that it was his most difficult fight. I said that, you know, so, you know, that's an answer to your question, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Dave because I love his show. So I just wanted to give him a little bit of heat, man. But we like the Shoe Shine a lot over here. We're good friends with them. So I'm glad you're here with us, brother. But let's move on to our next category.
Round 9, experience.
All right. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
Is this experience?
Simon.
Oh, okay. I got this one a 50-50. I think that Canelo started off with more professional experience. Triple G started off with a lot of amateur experience. So they both had different views on how to win a fight once they were in the pros. Canelo had an edge. But I think that Triple G, watching Canelo's career, has probably learned something from Canelo. And I would just say it's a 50-50 as far as experience. Because you also can't discount the 400 or so amateur fights that Triple G had. So if you put it all together, I think they're about 50-50 now because we are in the pros. And, you know, Canelo has had more professional experience than Triple G. But at the same time, if you put it all together, I think it's about a 50-50. And I know you hate these draws, but these guys are pretty close, man. When you watch both fights, you can see it, man. They're right.
No, you're
there,
right.
man.
It is close. And we definitely have respect for Triple G's skill set overall in general. I've always said that Triple G, somehow he just kind of faded out of everybody's top 10 pound for pound list. Like he was number 1 pound for pound, then lost to Canelo. And since then he hasn't lost, but he's just kind of slowly just kind of ticked his way down outside of the top 10 for no particular reason. I think it's a little bit disrespectful. You know, like when Mayweather, some people thought that Maidana beat him. I did have Maidana winning that fight. We rescored that one. I didn't call it a robbery, but Mayweather still had the respect of the older fighter being pound for pound. I feel like Triple G doesn't get that same respect, but he gets it here on El Chile. George, what do you think, man?
Yeah, that's a great point. Nopal with the experience, you know, of course, Canelo being a professional, young, I think like at 15 or 14, Triple G with over 400 amateur fights. It's kind of both of them kind of meet there like in the middle. And that one for me was a 50-50 as well. I gave both guys an A. I mean, if you know, just looking at what Canelo did pretty young on, you know, he fought Mosley, Trout, Lara. You can count for those as being good experiences, especially against name fighters that people were calling for, and we're good at the time. You know, Triple G, you know, his 400 amateur fights, you know, carrying it on here into the professionals, and then now they meet for the third time. You know, I feel like if we go look at social media or articles, I feel like it's split down the middle. I feel, yes, a majority believe that Triple G won the first one. We rescored it. You guys had Canelo winning. I had Triple G. And in the second one, the majority was, of course, Canelo that won the fight. And I agreed with it too. So this is where the experiences are. Like you have two guys being good at where they were at. Canelo being a very good professional fight, having the experiences. Triple G having the fun amateur fights. This one for me was the A for both guys down the middle, 50-50.
All right, so another even ranking by George with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. Thanks very much. I agree. Like this is all really close. And I have a lot of respect for the experience of Triple G. But if you're asking me, like who has the more experience, I think it's clear that it's Canelo. He's been fighting at a higher level for much longer. Even when they were doing fights at the same time after their rematch, Canelo's the guy who's going up there fighting a higher caliber of opponents, seeing different things, seeing things again. Like we know what gives Canelo problems because we've seen him go up against high caliber fighters time and again. On top of that, too, I think Canelo's gone up against the slick style more, so he knows how to deal with that way more than Triple G does. Jacob,
hey, that's true, man. That's true. I didn't think about that.
Hey, well, thank you very much, Nopal. I'm telling you, man. So, I think that overall experience at the highest level, I think you'd have to give it to Canelo. He's been in there with some of the slickest, some of the best fighters. The best fighter that Golovkin's gone up against is Canelo. After that, his resume is not very good, especially if you think that he did lose to Jacobs, if you think he lost to Jacobs. And then, you start talking about like Daniel Geale being his best win. He's got some other fights, but I mean, like, a lot of that type of level, like at that, with respect, like, that type of like European level. I mean, I don't know. To me, I think the experience, I'm going to, tilt things in Canelo's favor here.
Advantage Canelo. Round 10, ring generalship.
All right, ring generalship, another great category. Georgie, what do you think?
Yeah, man, this is another great one, another great category. I mean, this is for me. Where I'm gonna just go right into it. And I'm gonna say that I gave both guys A. And yes, level of competition. I think we all agree that Canelo has the names on the resume. But if you look at some of the young fighters, what I like to call the eye test. And there's young fighters out here that do pass the eye test. And you want to see them fight against the better fights and the tougher competition. It's kind of the same thing with Triple G here. Like, Triple G's been chasing Canelo for so long. We would have liked to see, maybe like an Andre Ward or some other guys out there that could have tested him more. But to me, Triple G definitely passed the eye test as far as ring generalship. And both guys actually command, ring generalship in here. Like they can pretty much make any of the opponents do what they want. Triple G had a tough fight against Murata, but he was able to adjust. And you can see him start to take over, like probably about after like the 5th round, and that's where the generalship started to take over. So I feel like this one is an even one for me. I gave both guys an A.
All right, George has it even. Nopal, what do you think, brother?
This one I favor Canelo. I put 60-40, but I'd probably even go a little better, 65-35. And my reasoning for that is, even Roy Jones Jr. said it, Canelo did whatever he wanted with Triple G. If he wanted to fight on the back foot, here goes Golovkin chasing him, or pretending to chase him. If he wanted to go on the front foot, here goes Triple G backing up. Whatever Canelo wanted to do, if he wants to go rest for a little while, he's going to do it. So for me, he's got more ring generalship. Even Dougie Fisher said in the zone thing, like part 3 on Triple G's part is, Canelo showed more ring generalship in both fights. And, that's the true test for me is when they both fought, he was the ring generalship in general in both fights. So 65-35 Canelo.
Nopal, that was a great breakdown. And I agree with you, man. Canelo's going to be able to do what he wants, and that's ring generalship. If he wants to sit in the pocket, dominate inside fighting, dominate mid-range, and Golovkin just can't hang, well, then that's Canelo dictating the pace. That's Canelo commanding the center of the ring. If Triple G is forced to fight on the back foot where he is not able to be as successful in general because it's not his best style, well, then we know, in my opinion, who the ring general is between the two. We already know it, in my opinion.
Advantage Canelo.
But I got to say, I always respect George's opinion, just because I think so. This is just majority vote. That's all. We're just having a good time, people.
Round 11, corner.
All right, Georgie, what do you think, man?
Yes. Straight to it. I give Canelo the edge here in corner. He stuck with Eddie Reynoso and his dad for a very long time. They've given him great instructions. They have a good stable. Yes, they lost some fighters, but I mean, they at that. I would say last year, like they had one of the top stables, man. And the corner, of course, being Eddie Reynoso. So I'm going to favor Canelo in this one. Triple G, I think he switched up to I can't even remember his name. Banks, right? Is that correct?
Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks, yes. Yeah. So he switched there. I think the last fight or the last two fights. But I just feel Canelo has the solid corner.
All right. Thank you, George. No ball. Who do you think has the better corner, man?
I'm gonna make this a 50-50 because lately, I think that Reynoso took too many fighters, and I think that kind of veered him off a little bit on how much attention he was giving Canelo. Whereas I don't really know that much. I know a little something about Jonathan Banks, but I think like everything he does is centered around Triple G. So he's giving him total attention. And Reynoso might be doing that right now, but at the same time, I just got to say 50-50, man.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to give a shout out to Team Batman Boxing, who's joined us as well as Flores. Team Batman Boxing says they're both very experienced. I'm just watching back the second fight right now for like the 80th time. Such a tremendous fight, bro. You said it, man. I rescored it, right? And I had a hard time just like trying to score because that fight was just so damn good. If y'all want to get hyped for this third fight, do yourself a favor, man, and check out that second fight, man. It's the fight of the year, and it's a war, man. And, I got to agree with you, No Paul. As far as like corners go, I know that his stable kind of got a little diluted, and there was a lot of fighters, and it seems like, according to some people that, maybe the Reynoso's Eddie Reynoso more at this point, right? He would commit his time to the gym when it was Canelo. That's the way they've always had their sights. If you go back, watch that excellent documentary on DAZN about Canelo, the rise to greatness. They talk about how, like, when Canelo came in, they noticed that he was strong, that he was beating older kids, and that he had talent, and he would listen to what they had to say and apply it. Canelo said, like, after the gym, I would just walk home and just be thinking about what Eddie and Chepo told me. My brothers, they spoke very highly of the Reynoso, said that they were the best around the area in Guadalajara, that they had world champions already, and they continue to have world champions. People go to the Reynosos for a reason. There's no way Canelo just ends up being Canelo without the Reynosos. He doesn't exist without the Reynosos. I do think that Eddie Reynoso needs to have a little bit more of a firm command over Canelo, but it's easy to tell. It's easy for me to say that. Like, I do think things have changed a little bit, like they all respect each other, but, I want Chepo Reynoso with like the timer, I want Canelo to be doing drills. I want him to really just make sure he's really ready to go, that he does that road work. Is he doing that so much? I'm not so sure, but I think that the game plans are still there. It's still being utilized. I think there's a love for the sport. I think that they like to break down the sweet science, just like Jonathan Banks. I got respect for Jonathan Banks, who's from the Kronk gym. He's notable for having trained, like George said, trained Vladimir Klitschko after Emmanuel Stewart. And I think that he's done a good job kind of giving Triple G a hybrid style, which I'll get into. But I think that if we're talking corner for corner, I think there's no doubt that the Reynosos, and more like Eddie Reynoso now, I think Canelo has the advantage there. And so we give the edge to Canelo.
Advantage Canelo. Round 12, intangibles.
All right, round 12, intangibles, the things that we haven't really discussed directly. This is a very interesting category. George, what do you think?
Yeah, this one is very interesting. For me, when with intangibles, I just kind of pretty much put everything all together. You obviously see that I have a lot of time. Most of the time, I had them pretty even down the middle, and that's because, I think if these guys fought 10 times out of 10, I mean, who knows? Maybe they would split 5-5. They're that close and that that good defense, good offense, tenacity, chins, ring generalship, power. So there's a lot of things I feel like that even out with these two guys. If these guys were to fight 10 times, I could see them possibly splitting 5-5. And same here going in this one. I gave both guys a B plus, and it's just because for me, like I said, I know you guys had Canelo winning the first time, scoring it. I went Triple G, and then we all agreed that the second time was Canelo. So this is why I went a B plus for both guys. I felt like this was split down the middle for me. And all 12 rounds, man, this was probably, I know this is our second time doing it, but I feel like this would probably be like one of the best ones, because out of anybody that we've rescored, like these guys are pretty much evenly matched, man. Like, one a little more than the other, but for the most part, this was a 50-50 right here. And I'm gonna say I gave these guys both a B plus intangibles.
All right. George has it even. No ball. Intangibles, man. What kind of considerations do you make when you think about intangibles, and who do you have having the edge in this one?
So for me, I know that the definition of intangibles is like something you can't buy. So I don't really like, but I kind of like, for me, you know, um, for me, I got Canelo clear way ahead of Triple G when it comes to intangibles, just because for the simple fact that I think Triple G has more of a amateurish mindset when it comes to winning fights. I think Canelo goes out there and he does what he has to do. He often puts himself in danger to do what he needs to do. And this is something where, if you were to ask a guy like Triple G, hey, would you fight Bivol? He'll probably chuckle at that, because no, he would never fight a guy like that. He probably considers himself too intelligent to fight somebody like that. Why? Because he knows that the guy has huge advantages over him, and he just wouldn't risk his career, because he views it like a sport and he knows what the other guy can do. Now, Canelo's, I always viewed him, I got a special spot for him, because you know what? He's the type of guy, if you doubt him a little bit, he tries to prove you wrong. And that's something I've never seen with Triple G. So I got this one at 80-20 Canelo by a long shot.
All right. So the intangibles go to Canelo for no ball. This was a pretty interesting category. When I think about intangibles, there's a lot of factors that I think about, right? It's kind of like, what else do we consider, and that Bivol fight's in my mind a little bit. Like I said in my post fight, I really didn't care for the way that Canelo went to the ropes. I don't like the way he didn't stand his ground, and those were concerns for me. I thought he had some gas tank issues. Now, I've been hearing that from people I respect, including Nopal. I think, people think that Canelo will have better conditioning this time around, especially at 168 pounds. He won't look so lethargic, so that'll take care of the issue, But I see this fight right here as being Canelo's to lose, right? So as long as everything goes the way it should, Canelo should win, right? So that means if things go differently, that it might favor Triple G. Triple G's the one who has the advantage here, in my opinion, because if things are different, that could probably only favor Triple G, because Triple G's supposed to lose this fight. He's still got a very high activity level. If Canelo's not the same Canelo, well, I know what we have with Golovkin. I still respect him, and I think he's got an excellent skill set. I think that he's just outside of the top 10 pound for pound, probably. Or, if you wanted to make that argument that he was still up there, like, you could make that case, in my opinion. So as far as intangibles go, I actually favor Triple G. I think that if anything's different, I think it favors Triple G, but I've been outvoted here. So it looks like
advantage even.
Whoops, I guess I had that even. So let me see. Did we No, it is even. Yeah, it's one even.
Yeah.
Canelo, Triple G. So I got that.
Advantage even.
Sorry about that, folks. We're doing it live. What can I say? Man, that was fun doing the 12 rounds. And, well, all things tallied up.
Canelo wins.
Man, I love doing that. The 12 rounds is always fun, man. I had a good time hearing what you guys had to say. We're about to do our predictions, but first we're going to do a hat raffle for our excellent listenership base. We love coming and talking boxing with you guys, and I love my little core of listeners, man. I have a good time, and that's why we do it. You know what I mean? We're here just doing our thing. We appreciate you guys coming to spend time with us, and as you've seen as a pattern with Canelo fights, we'd like to give a little bit back, because Canelo's the cash cow, which is another way of saying that his fans, they're the ones who pay the bills. They're the ones who have disposable income. So we're going to get into it. We're going to do the hat game, right? And you get a free entry just for being here. So I'm going to set this up right now. George, if somebody wanted to get this get this game going at home. I know we talked about it a little bit the last time during the Bivol fight. Can you please just kind of recount that and tell people how they could get it going at home if they were inclined?
Oh shit, I don't remember.
This is the game where you buy rounds at home.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah,
Hello.
man. Tell people how that would work if you wanted to get it going if you had a house party. And this
Yeah,
is a fight worth having a house party.
Yes, it is. So I mean, obviously, you got to have enough people. At least a minimum 12. And everybody, you get a piece of paper, you write 1 through 12, throw it in the hat, depending on how depending on how much money everybody has or whatever, you pick you buy in. Some people do $5, some people do 20. I've even seen some people do rounds with the pick and the outcome, which is crazy. I can't remember. I know I was there for one of them. It actually might have been a Mayweather fight. I'm not too sure, but I've definitely been the one that was that way. But just real simple, 1 through 12, throw your $5 in. The host draws a number, and then the host shakes it up, walks around, and let everybody picks out a piece of paper, and whatever round you get, that's what you hope happens in the fight.
Nice. And have you did you do it during the Bivol fight? Did you guys play?
No, man, we did not. Only we kind of were going in with a heavy heart there. My dad, no, I'm not being around anymore. That was kind of like the center around everything. So I'm gonna probably most likely tell my brothers and my cousins, like, let's do it for old time's sakes here. So I will. Did you do one?
No, dude, I'm in Oregon, bro, and I don't have like that hardcore California hometown type base
Shit.
anymore, dude. So it's like me and my old lady, we just watch the fights, but we don't do anything like that. Nope, are you getting busy with that kind of stuff, man, or what?
Nah, it would be fun though.
It's fun, bro. It is fun. And like I said, you could just get it going. And here's the thing, like once you get it going, then it's fun because everybody's gonna be like, oh, where's the hat game, right? So it doesn't take much convincing except for that first time. But if there's buzz, people are like, what's going on? I want to buy in. Like, how much is it per round? And then you get a chance to see this fight happen, and hopefully it wins in your round. You know what I mean? Sweet. All right, man. Well, let me just finish this up real quick, and then if there's anything else you guys want to add before we give our predictions, right now will be a really nice time while I'm almost done here doing this little thing right here.
No, I just want to say, listening to your guys' 12 rounds, it almost made me want to sway some of my actual picks, but I had to stand firm on them. I think the only one that actually changed, I think, might have been the ring IQ or the footwork. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, I changed it last minute. But it's always fun doing the 12 rounds, and it's pretty much on the way we view each guy and what they do. And it's very interesting. I think this, like I said, is our second one. I know that if we do some in the future, this will probably be the closest for me. The closest 12 rounds on deciding on who to pick out of the 1 through 12 there.
All right. No, Paul, any final thoughts before we play this game?
Nah.
All right, cool. So we're going to get it going here right now. And then I'm going to insert Paul, myself, and George in it because we want to play, man. We got $50 at stake, and we're going to play right now, man. Let me get this hat. I got an official Canelo hat. Now, there were more than 12 posters, okay? So what I did was, I hope you guys don't mind that I curbed some people, right? I hope that's all right. But we're going to sacrifice myself for Flores. Flores looks like he's here. And since you're here, I was going to kick you out, Flores, with love, but now you're back in, So to the hosts that come and just show some love, we appreciate it, man. But we're going to have our listenership be in this. So we have Remy, Run PMC, Nando, 92 AKU, JC, Flores, who's in, John Blaze, the Shoe Shine, and Batman. So that's who we have in here. And Remy's definitely playing. You know this, Remy. Come on, man. We love having you in there. And we love having our hardcores, man. When we see people like Remy, JC, Nando, Team Batman Boxing, man, it's always a real pleasure. In fact, Team Batman Boxing, the first, he won the very first one, and he kicked it back to me and said, let's pass this along. So I passed it along last time. This time, man, we're very happy to do it. We're glad you all are listening. So we're going to get into this right now and see who wins. Let's start, man. I got the assignments. The first pool is Remy, right? we have round 7. Look at A-Rod. A-Rod wants to play. So round 7 goes to Remy. Let me see here. So round 7, very good round, Remy, not bad at all. All right, so Nando wants to play. He is a little active. Let me see who man, now I feel all awkward kicking people. Well, I'm gonna have to kick out some guests then. I kicked out myself. No ball. Let's kick you out.
Yeah,
Hope you don't mind.
That's fine.
Oh,
No, that's
I was
fine.
gonna offer mine up. I was gonna offer my spot.
Well, I'll take yours, George, and then we could give nope. I'm just kidding.
Hey, whatever.
All right. Well, you know what? If we're all fine with it, this will be like we'll get rid of that, and then like ours will be like the house number, right? So that'll be the house of the El
There you
Chile
go.
Boxing Talk.
We'll split the hat.
All right, exactly. And don't forget, leave a comment in the archive if you want some fresh Canelo unopened merchandise. No Paul's going to be raffling that off. So if you want to play, the archive is going to get some love here too. All you got to do is leave a comment on this show. We're going to have ourselves a good time. All right, so here we go. Run PMC is in the house, right? Actually, let's kick Run out, man. He's a good friend of ours. He don't mind. So let's kick Run out.
He's always winning out too.
Yeah, right. And A-Rod's here in the chat more, so we're going to give love to people who come and hang out with us, man. I know it comes from a good place. So A-Rod's back, and A-Rod, you get round 10, man. So if the fight ends around 10, you get the prize, which is pretty good.
That's a good round.
It is a good round. Number, here we go. Nando, you're up. Let's see here. Nando, you get round 4, brother. Round 4. I don't know about that one. A little early. You never want fights too early, but I mean, better than 1 through 3. That's for damn sure. So let's see. Oh, it looks like I already had A-Rod here. So let's go with the house. Cool. All right. So we got 92 AKU, our homie. It was nice to see him drop in. He's got a girlfriend now, he says, so he doesn't come around too much, but we're glad to see him. So if you see this brother, let's pull a number here. Let's see here. Sorry, these things are freaking slipping out of my hands here. Round 2. You get round 2. All right. So 92 AKU gets round 2. Sweet. JC, you're up, man. Another homie of ours who always comes in. Let's see here. Oh, round 12 decision.
Oh,
okay.
Shit.
That's a good one. So JC gets 12 decision. That might be one of the best ones. I'd say your odds are like, well, according to the books, that's almost like 50-50, man. So you got like a 50-50 chance of doing this. So Flores is here. Thanks for joining us, Flores. Anybody who's active gets love, man. We had a good time. So thanks for joining us. That is round 5. Round 5 for Flores. Round 5. Okay. John Blaze is up. John Blaze is here. And John Blaze, thanks for joining us, man. You get round 8. That's not bad. That's what things
Yeah, that's another good round.
In the later rounds. Dave from the 408, the shoe shine, is here. So we're going to give him some love here. Let's see here. Round 3. What do you think? I wouldn't be too happy. I'd probably buy again if I was doing this at home. Team Batman Boxing, the winner of the last one, right? Dude, is round. Okay, so there's still some good rounds out there. But it looks like Batman just nabbed round 11. That's another damn good one. Yeah. So now round 11. So we have. So let's see here. All right. So we already did. Did we do A-Rod yet? Let's see here. Doesn't look like A-Rod's gone. So let's do A-Rod. All right. The founder gets round 6. All right. Thanks for joining us, A-Rod. Bruce Goes is our last contestant. Let's see here. Oh, Bruce Gas gets round 1. Well, you never know. Maybe we could have a shocked world. So we get the house. So the house is going to take 2 because, hell, I want an advantage and I'm having a good time. So let's see here. We get round 9. All right. And I'll just give it to the homies. You know what I mean? The homies are in. I'm out. And we get round 12. So you guys get those 2. All right. We're all set, man. So good luck to everybody. I love this game. So, the house, my homies Nopal and George will have rounds 9 and 12. I kind of did this live without thinking. We'll figure out how to divvy it up behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Oh, did I already give A-Rod round 10? All right. Well, if I already gave A-Rod round 10, then I'll take round 6. Yeah, A-Rod, you've already been counted. Thanks very much for that noble move, right? So, right. So instead, A-Rod is getting round 10. and I have round 6, man. So we are all set. So we'll figure that out behind the scenes, man. But we're having a good time. So now it's time for predictions, man. We're going to get right into it. Close this out by telling y'all what we think about who's going to win this fight. All right. George, let's go with you first, man. Tell us,
Okay.
break down this fight for us and tell us who you have winning.
Yes. Good trilogy, solid. One of the great rivalry here. Third fight. The only thing I would say is I wish this would have happened like pretty much the next fight after the rematch. I would have fought a lot better. Or I mean, I do feel good picking my prediction here, but I feel like that would have been a lot closer. Still doesn't take away from the fact that this will be a very good competitive fight. Both guys have tasted each other's best. So there is like a couple of things for me going into this. One, of course, is Triple G going up to 168. This is his first fight at 168. How will his body be able to handle that weight? Will he carry power up there? Will he look a little bit fresher, or will he look a little bit slower? Those are questions for me. The other thing, right? Canelo coming down back from 175. He's coming down to 168. To me, in the fight at 175, he did look a little bit soft. He didn't really carry the weight that well. The second time go around at 175 compared to the fight against Kovalev. So those are kind of like factors I think to me that stand out the most. So that's why I think it'd be a really close competitive fight for about 7-8 rounds. Triple G's body has not been holding him up, but not been doing too well for him. It's starting to fail him. We've seen it in the Murata fight. I think even in the Jacobs fight, I think there was a couple flashes of it. There was definitely flashes of it in the Deverchenko fight. So to me, I feel like the winner here will be obviously the Canelo. I feel like Canelo will be able to be a little more fresher in this one, even with the fact that I mentioned that him coming down from 175 up a one fight. But that's my prediction. I think Canelo will win this. And I said yesterday with Julian, I said I give it 9. 9 rounds. I give Canelo a body shot. I really don't know. I mean, I agree with Calix that neither one of these guys will take a knockout or a knockdown from the chins. They got two best chins here. So I don't see like a head knockout. I definitely see some, Triple G being worn down to the body by 9. I got Canelo winning.
All right. So Canelo winning by KO in the 9th. Nice, dude. That's the earliest I've heard for a knockout. Some knockout picks are starting to come in. Excellent stuff, George. Great breakdown, brother. Thank you. Nopal, break down this fight for us, bro. Who do you have winning?
Man, I don't want to make this sound like I'm just ripping off George's prediction, but me too, bro. 9th round stoppage to the body in the 9th. That's the only way I could see this ending, basically. I'm actually interested in looking to see what the betting line is, and I'm hoping that that's the under right there is the 9th round. So, that's my prediction right there. Body shot.
Damn. All right. Short and sweet from Nopal Boxeanos, the homie. Well, when breaking down this fight, I got to say, dude, like it was fun going back and watching the Murata fight. A lot of people make it seem like, I don't know, I've heard some things about that fight. People make it seem like Triple G maybe wasn't interested in being there or kind of didn't like getting hit to the body, or, he's never really liked getting hit to the body. I think that he was still very formidable. He was a guy who was very active. One of the things that I noticed as far as like the current form of Triple G is he's definitely got like a hybrid style with Jonathan Banks. Like what he likes to do is he likes to be on the back foot, kind of moving laterally, not maybe so much on the back foot, but circling, right? And then when he plants his feet, he's better off being offensive, right? He's trying to move forward on the front foot and dominate the range, which is something that's nice with Jonathan Banks. He's sitting there going, okay, well, if you're at mid range or inside, you need to dominate. You shouldn't be backing up. So it's like I like this style of him kind of like getting out of the pocket, and then when he's in, he tries to dominate. It worked against Murata, but there were times where he did get pushed back. Triple G didn't like it to the body in that fight. He always needs to reset. I think it's a smart thing that he gets out of the pocket, kind of catches his breath a little bit after getting tagged to the body. He's never liked getting tagged to the body right now, and I think he is older. On top of that, I think an opponent like Murata is fairly limited. I don't know if I would call him one-dimensional, but I think that his rhythm and what he does was figured out after a few rounds. One of the other things that I did notice about Triple G later on in that fight is like right around like 5, 6, 7, 8, he was not able to dance around as much. And he's best on the front foot when he's in the pocket, right? So what he started doing was he started punching Murata, trying to own that real estate, and then he would kind of try to move to gather his energy that way. So, I think Canelo is kind of the same. Like, I think he's really good at punching his way for some rest, right? Or going to the ropes, right? Or if he's on the back foot, that's kind of exhausting too. He's kind of like changing up the exhaustion a little bit. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with Triple G. Like, Triple G, in my opinion, has always had a good tank. I think he's still got a great tank compared to a lot of fighters. His activity level in that Murata fight was very high, if you ask me. Like, so as far as like, maybe like endurance or like, I maybe even favor Triple G, but Triple G is older. I've always said age matters. Okay. And then we know what happened in that second fight. So all Canelo needs to do is be Canelo in this fight and he can win. Now, like I said, I had problems with the way Bivol looked, or excuse me, the way Canelo looked in the Bivol fight. Right. But there are different circumstances there. One, I said that would be the most troubling matchup stylistically for Canelo. So I did anticipate that fight being difficult. I didn't bet any money on it, right? Except for Canelo not getting knocked down, right? Which I felt good about. And I won that fight, won that round, won that bet. But Canelo is going back to 168 pounds. And there's this idea that he will be fresher there. He'll have more endurance. On top of that too, I think it is personal for him. I think Canelo is still a consummate professional. And I think that he's really going to train for this one. He knows what Golovkin's going to bring. To him, it's personal. And I think that the discipline is back. I think that if Canelo can't beat Golovkin, then it's not the same Canelo that we know. Everything leans towards Canelo winning this fight. He should win this fight. He needs to not load up on his punches so much. Like, it'd be nice if he threw a little bit of variety early, because I think what's going to happen is I think that the first rounds, it's going to be a negotiation on the pace of the first few rounds. But I think if it was up to Golovkin, they're going to be a little tentative, kind of like the first fight in the first 3 rounds. Like, Triple G really didn't start coming on until later on in the mid rounds. Okay. And I think that would benefit Triple G as far as him being able to extend his endurance, right? Maybe have the first few rounds, maybe not be so active, right? And I think that Triple G could possibly win those rounds if Canelo's having to chase him down. But then after that, and during those first 3 rounds, Canelo will be landing. Canelo can hit Triple G. Triple G gets hit. And I think that eventually Triple G is going to be taking more abuse than he's taken since the second Canelo fight. And I think it's going to affect him. He's going to start getting hit to the body, and he's going to start becoming that 40-year-old. You could see, like, starting in that 9th round, like, he really couldn't dance around anymore. So I think that Golovkin is going to have to try to make his stand. Okay. And at that point, he's going to be taking an accumulation of damage. I was leaning towards decision, but I've heard enough people make a case. And the more I think about it, it's like, I think Golovkin's going to have nowhere to go in the championship rounds, like 10, 11, 12. I think he's going to have nowhere to go. And he can't dominate inside. He can't dominate in the mid range. You've already seen that. As long as Canelo is fresh and can land, and he will land because he always lands on Triple G, who can get landed on. Like, I think it's going to start getting ugly, but I think that Triple G is going to have glimpses of good form. I think he's going to win some rounds. I think that people who are inclined to want to have Triple G win, I think they might have hope early, but the later rounds, even though Canelo, quote unquote, might have like a gas tank issue, like, I think once it goes to mid range and once it's inside fighting and Golovkin can't really run around anymore and he's taking the damage, I think I see a late knockout. I see it in the 11th round. That's how I have it. All right. So we have our predictions in, man. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up our Canelo versus Triple G special?
Yeah, none.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and for everyone who was in the raffle, man. Keep an eye on those rounds, and we want you all to enjoy this fight, man. And enjoy boxing, man. This is going to be one hell of a fight. It's the fight of the year. Fight Week buzz is already here. There's going to be all kinds of great shows where you can catch some great coverage, man. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. And we thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Peace.